Hello and welcome to LogRocket. So today I'm very excited to bring on a guest, Angela Minster from Flipside Crypto. So today we're going to be kind of getting into how you as a listener can get into the Web3 space right away and start exploring some of the exciting tools. Angela's from Flipside Crypto, and Flipside Crypto has been developing some really engaging, free to use tools for everybody to kind of, get familiar with the rich and unwieldy data that makes up our Web3 landscape. So, Angela, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So you are a data scientist at Flipside Crypto. We have a lot to talk about, and I'd love to just delve into what is a data scientist? What do you do at Flipside? And what does Flipside do? What can we tell our listeners in a really quick nutshell?
Yeah. So data scientist is kind of a new term. So new that if data scientist had existed when I went to college, I would have tried to major in data science, but I actually majored in math and then in grad school statistics. So part of the root of data science is doing things like predictive modeling or statistical inference, that kind of stuff. But to me, it also encompasses anyone that can take raw data and turn it into something really useful. Like they know how to set it up, sometimes clean it, most of the time clean it, do the analysis and come up with a final product, whether that's descriptive, like a graph, or predictive, like a machine learning model. So it's a pretty vague term. For me, I have been here at Flipside for over 3 years, 3.5, I think, and the company's been around for about 4 years. I have done all kinds of things, like the most menial, like sorting through Excel lists, to building those predictive models, to helping figure out how to build certain tables, figuring out the right schema. It's run the gamut, like anything data analysis.
So how does all this work that you do and the other teams, at Flipside, how does that all come together to, create some interesting things that people right now can go look at?
Yeah. So maybe I'll tell a quick history of Flipside and how we got to where we are, because I think that's illuminating. So I didn't know anything about crypto when I started in 2018. I was not a crypto native at that point. I guess we can say I am now. Just a friend of mine from grad school is one of the co-founders, Eric Stone, and he was like, "Come work at the company I'm starting." And I was like, "Okay, what's crypto?" I honestly didn't even know what Ethereum was. I'll just say that. I'll be totally honest. And when we started, our only public products, we had no public products at the time, but we created this rating system to try to rate different tokens. It was called FCAS. And the idea behind it was there's more to a token than its price and market cap and volatility. There's a lot of other metrics, like are people actually using it on the chain? Is it just like sending back and forth to centralized exchanges? Because in 2018, that was like 50% of every chain was just back and forth to Binance, basically, on every chain. And so we started digging into that. FCAS stuck around for a while. But then we kind of got into this like traditional business analytics model. We were like selling protocols, dashboards, and trying to do like retention metrics and a variety of things that were very, like, looking back, they were not very crypto, because the ethos of crypto is like open data, community, collaboration, and the ability to do anything you can code up, right? That's kind of how crypto is. And that was not what we were. So about a little over a year ago, we made a pretty major change where we said, we're going to open up all of our data, because at that point you couldn't just get anything you wanted from our data for free. And there was certainly no way to access our data as a member of the public. So we built this front end where you can query all of our data and you can build dashboards, and we opened it up completely for free. And now the way our business model works is that we collaborate with different crypto protocols like SushiSwap, Terra, there's a bunch, Algorand, Thorchain, and they either give us a grant or we work they allocate us some funds that we don't actually get to keep, but we stake it and keep some of the revenue. And we use most of that to send the money back out into the community to get people more engaged with those protocols themselves through using our data.
Right. Okay.
And that's in the form of
Just
bounties.
kind of
So
like a feedback loop.
yes, yeah. So
What the orchestration between the end users and the data and Flipside and the protocols, because end users enrich the protocols who enrich Flipside who enrich the users.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's so the whole time we've had the goal of being a company that uses blockchain data to make blockchain protocols, companies, whatever you want to call them, and their users better in whatever way we can contribute to that. But since last year, we've had this total shift to really, in my opinion, embodying the ethos of crypto, where we're giving this away for free and we're educating people, we're helping people do their own research, we're giving or connecting these protocols with their community directly so that analysis can be done, people can be introduced to their protocols. It's just this really wide open world, and it's so much more people
It really
focused, which
sounds
is
like you can take that to the unknown. I mean, like this is uncharted territory, right?
dude, yes.
So yeah, I'd love to talk about the uncharted aspect of this a little bit. So, you're selling, let's see, you talked about 3 different phases of the company. I want to talk about phase 2 here, where we're making dashboards, we're selling it to companies. Like, why was that a thing? If I'm running a plumbing supply company and I'm selling pumps, I know how many pumps I'm selling. I know who I'm selling them to. I know all of that. So I think this kind of is a great opportunity for us to talk about the unwieldy nature of the data that powers our L1 chains, and why did Flipside step in there? Like, why was that a thing?
Yeah. So because we were making that rating for as many tokens and coins as we
By
could,
rating
we
the
had
dashboard, right?
no, the
Oh,
FCAS
the
rating
FCAS. Gotcha. Okay.
back in phase 1. Because we were doing that, we had so much data. And the really unwieldy thing about blockchain is that it's very expensive to run a node, or to even to have enough memory that you can host and regularly update an entire blockchain.
And a node. So a node, when you say a node, you mean
Oh, sorry.
like a layer 1 entity in the network. Like if you run a node, you're running a box that is running the Ethereum thingy.
Yeah, I think of it as like if you want to think about a blockchain as like a special type of database, which I do, and if someone doesn't like that terminology, I just mean it as a metaphor. I think of it as like a specialty database, and that running a node basically means you're keeping a copy of that database that is like plugged in to all of the other copies and getting updated regularly. Regularly meaning like once every 3 seconds.
So that's intensive stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I couldn't do that for myself. Thankfully we have people in our company who can do that, but I don't know how to do that. I know how to query the data once it's set up, but like
I can run a Minecraft server. Does that count?
it comes through as JSON, just long JSON. And the JSON is full of addresses, functions that have been translated into hashes. So just like hexadecimal strings, and you don't necessarily know what they're for unless you can connect it with other pieces of outside data, or if you have a way to label different addresses. So even something as simple as saying, I want to know in the last 20 days or 30 days how many addresses sent funds to Binance, which it sounds pretty simple. It's just like a transfer of a token on a chain. It's, in my opinion, is wildly complicated for the average person to be able to answer a question like that without having a source of that data already ready for them to tap
And
into.
not only do you need the source, but I'm assuming like if you get this JSON, there's like a bunch of crap in there, and you're going to need a lot of computing power and time and energy and thought put into how do I pull out those meaningful pieces of information so that then somebody like yourself can then do all the magic to like make human interpretable, business intelligence out of that. So this is kind of where the FCAS kind of stepped in. That's why it was a thing, because this is unwieldy. It takes a lot. And so you guys filled that role, right?
Yeah, and so back to your question of a plumber, like, yeah, plumber literally knows how many plumb bots he sold. No, plumbing
Or just
pipes. I don't know
plumber
what plumbers do.
e-commerce, I don't know, just random.
Yeah, whatever it is, you know how many you do because it comes from you. But if you're running a blockchain protocol, you write up a contract, you launch the contract, but you're not necessarily collecting data on every single block. Some I've noticed that with these different protocols, some of them have certain metrics that they're able to keep track of, and especially like very specific to their protocol. But then if they wanted to answer a question like, okay, I'm a decentralized exchange. I know I have 600 swaps this week or whatever, but how many swaps do other decentralized exchanges have? How do I compare my volume, my business to other ones? Then they wouldn't be able to access that. Or like people who engage with my decentralized exchange, what else did they do on this chain? They couldn't answer questions like that. So that's the kind of stuff we started building, which is definitely useful. But the other thing about crypto is that it's brand new in the sense of like in the span of all time. It feels very old at this point, but like it's brand new. And things like what is an important metric for a decentralized exchange or an NFT or anything, they're not fully answered. So we're still exploring what it even means to have important like KPIs that you're measuring for your protocol or your business. I will say, I want to say that in crypto, we're kind of like, we avoid sounding like traditional business people. So even though something might be a business, we like won't call it that. We'll call it a protocol.
That's not kosher. You can't call it a business.
Yeah, it's not business. Ew, that's like what your dad does for a living. We don't do that. We're so much cooler.
Yeah, so I mean, this data is useful for protocols for businesses, even if they don't want to call themselves businesses. But what I was really excited, I think this frames everything really well, and I was really excited to talk about how viewers today can take advantage of what seems like really rich business intelligence data that you guys might have been given to like a protocol or something. Because I can go to Flipside's website and query
Yeah.
your data for free directly. And like if
Yep.
I want to know how many NFTs I have or something, like that's something that I could approach with your platform, correct?
Yeah. I think the we'll in crypto we say DYOR, which is do your own research. So if you wanted to invest in stocks, there's a ton of information out there about how stocks have performed over time, what the yield is. I mean, there's actually like laws and regulations about who can publish it. You can't just like Bloomberg couldn't publish incorrect information about stock trading without getting sued probably, right? So it's all you can kind of trust most of what you read. Well, that's you should never trust most of what you read, but you know, like things have been verified, vetted. If they're not right, someone's going to fix it pretty quickly. In crypto, absolutely none of that's true. So you might have heard of something like yield farming in DeFi where you can get like 100 or 200% interest, which is insane. Even compared to regular banking or even the stock market, like 20% interest is kind of insane. Um, but how do you know things like how volatile is that rate? How long has that rate been that way? For other similar protocols, or we call them pools, how that had a rate that high, how long did it last? Did how many of those kind of went under and people lost all their money? These are really big questions and they require historical data, and there's a lot of sites that will tell you today these are the interest rates provided by these different places that you can put your money, but it's very hard to get historical data or very specific questions answered without having a source of data like our data.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're coming full circle here. So your data, like me as a consumer or like a crypto aficionado, I can kind of like look into and start to inspect this unwieldy, difficult to download and index data about a bunch of different chains on my own volition for free,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
Okay,
mm-hmm,
awesome.
mm-hmm.
So I think we will actually hop into taking a look at this live. If you're listening to the podcast, no worries. We're going to be talking through a lot of what we're doing, and it's going to be very minimal. So just a few commands here and there, and talking about querying some data live on screen. Another interesting thing I want to mention before we hop into you showing us some stuff, Angela, is we get questions sometimes like, how do I get into Web3? Like, how do I get into crypto?
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of those tools out there from what I've seen that is really well suited for people trying to take that path of self-making and getting into the industry, because as you mentioned, crypto is about what can I build, how fast can I build it, and who can use it. And if you're somebody that can
Mm-hmm.
insert yourself in those shoes and maybe help give data reports for another crypto organization, or build very interesting blog, or like even start to learn like what are contracts, what are events in contracts, just playing with data is an immensely it's an incredible place to start. It's a level that a lot of people don't even get to sometimes in the crypto world. So if you're interested in getting into it, this is a really cool demo in place. You can get your feet wet right away.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's jump into it. Oh, thanks. So Angela's just sharing her screen right here. So we're on app.flipsidecrypto.com.
Yeah. So anyone can come here, create an account, and sign in. I already have an account. This is I call it my burner account, because on my Flipside account, I can see things that the public can't, but I call this my burner account. So this is my burner account. And this is exactly what you would see if you created an account.
So it's kind of like a dashboard, and there's a bunch of folders. So it just kind of looks like a file explorer. So in each of these folders, are there kind of like queries that you're saving on old blockchain data?
Yeah. Did you say old blockchain data?
Or I should say historical
Yeah.
blockchain data.
I tend to ignore this page, but there's a ton of queries that you can look through. But I think a lot of these are my queries that I made. My my username is Cool Angela, and a lot of them are blank, like untitled,
Gotcha.
because I run fast and easy with the untitleds in every application I use. It's dangerous, but you can make a query by just doing new query.
So in the upper right, we're clicking on new. So we're making a new query.
New query.
So
Yeah.
is this querying like an SQL database, or there's just okay, it is. Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is our own handmade editor. So we didn't use another company's editor. It was written from scratch, but it is just your regular SQL. So if you are just getting into SQL, you can take, I would say, any SQL tutorial and apply what you learn to query through this interface.
Okay.
For people who are more technical, the backend is a Snowflake database. So there are certain fun things that you can do in Snowflake that you can't do in other databases, but you really don't need to know that it's Snowflake just to run a query. Yeah, so this is the query editor. The basics are that you have a schema dropdown, and then whatever schema is selected, you have a bunch of tables inside. So in a database, you have a database as the top like umbrella structure. Within databases, you have schemas, and schemas are collections of tables, and tables is where all the juicy data is.
Okay.
And a table is just like, if you are familiar with Excel or like any spreadsheet, I always just visualize a table as being a spreadsheet, and you just need to use SQL as the language to tell the database engine what to pick out and give you from that spreadsheet.
Okay, awesome. So to summarize, we have the database, then schema. So are schemas kind of mapped to protocols? So like Ethereum, Algorand?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we actually have some videos on YouTube about this on our Flipside channel that walk you through every single schema. But basically, they're divided into two types of schemas. Some are blockchain-wide schemas that will cover like every of a certain type of thing that can happen on a blockchain. All of them for the whole blockchain will be in that schema.
Oh,
Other ones are more specific. So like, for example, Ethereum is a blockchain you probably heard of. This would have like every Ethereum transfer, or the balance for every address on Ethereum. Polygon, Solana, Terra, those are all Thorchain, those are all complete blockchains. And then you have other schemas like Terra Swap Terra Swap is a decentralized exchange on Terra. So the Terra Swap schema is just going to have tables that are specific to things you can do on Terra Swap. So basically a subset of Terra.
Okay.
And like Aave is on Ethereum. So the Aave schema is going to have a subset of Ethereum specific to the protocol Aave and the things that you can do on Aave.
Right on. Okay, so it's kind of like there are blockchain level things, there's cross blockchain levels, and then there's some like sub level schemas that we can poke through. And each one of those has a certain number of tables. Can we hop into a table and just like look at some data and see what a query looks like?
Yeah.
Awesome. It sounds like this data can get really detailed too. If I can get like all Ethereum transfers, I could figure out like
Yeah.
where NFTs are going. Or oh yeah, I see a table there, NFT events. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. This is a table of, and you can preview it. So it'll show you which columns are available. It's a very large, anything Ethereum or Polygon or even Terra, the larger chains, there's like billions of records. So sometimes it can be slow to query if you're not executing like a really specific query.
Could we find, I'm not sure if you had a query in mind that you wanted to show. Is there, if you didn't, maybe we could search up like a fun NFT or something.
Do you have one in mind?
No, I don't. I remember one time I checked this out. I did a query for a Snoop Dogg NFT to see how many times it was transferred, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we could talk NFTs. We could talk something more like investing research.
yeah, sure. Why don't we get the history of, I'm not sure how difficult this would be because I haven't like
Okay.
used it like this, but I'm thinking something along the lines of, you know, what you mentioned earlier. What is the liquidity the yield farm rate of a certain pool?
Yeah. Okay. That's probably too long to do just for the podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
But let's talk about what a liquidity pool even is, right? Okay. So
Sure.
what is a decentralized exchange? This is a super common thing on blockchains. So let's say that I have a token called, oh, what token do I have? Well, let's just say I have Ethereum. I have Ether. I have ETH. I have some ETH, but I want to exchange it for some new token called Cool New Token. So I have ETH, but I want to have Cool New Token. Sometimes you can do that trade on a centralized exchange, but then you have to give up custody of your money. You have to put it into the exchange. Similar how like if you have $20 in your hand and you want to put it in the bank, you no longer have custody of the $20. Technically the bank has your $20. So in crypto, your funds are only yours if they're in your wallet. So if they're in an exchange, you don't fully have control over them. They could disappear if someone hacked the exchange. You know, then you don't have custody. So a decentralized exchange basically takes all of the centralization, all of the meaning like someone else having custody of your money, someone else having sort of any control over what trades are happening and makes it decentralized. It's also decentralized because the mechanism by which trades are possible is done in a decentralized fashion. So what does that mean? So say I'm on a centralized exchange and I want to exchange ETH for a cool new token. Either someone else has to be ready to sell their cool new token for ETH, or there needs to be like a pile of cool new token that I can trade from. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So there needs to be like a pre-existent supply
Exactly.
ready to go.
Yeah. So
Okay.
a
Pool of it.
pool, yeah, a pool, this is what they call it in a decentralized exchange, a pool of the token waiting for you. So the way it works in a decentralized exchange is that for anyone who wants to trade ETH for cool token or cool token for ETH, there's a pool that holds ETH and cool token. And people trade in and out of that pool to do their trading. So in a centralized exchange, like Binance just owns that giant stack of ETH and cool token. But in a decentralized exchange, many, many, many people own small pieces of that pool. And they do that by already having both ETH and Cool token, and then they lock it up in the pool to enable trading for other people. Now, this is not out of the goodness of their own heart. They earn the trading fees. So centralized exchange, was that?
Like a bank fee, right? Or a trade. Like
It's just a fee to trade. It's like a fee for the privilege of trading. On a centralized exchange, they also charge you a fee for trading, although they don't really make it that obvious that that's what's happening. Even on Coinbase, you might see like, oh, a little Coinbase fee for trading one token for the other. Um, but that goes right into Coinbase's pockets or Binance's pockets or whoever's doing it. In the decentralized exchange, the fees go to the people who lock their money up in a pool to make trading possible, which I think is like,
that's wild.
it's incredible.
It's wild that that can happen in an organized fashion.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm looking at your screen right here. We didn't really run a query, but we have
No, we didn't.
event flat. That's fine. So we have event platform OpenSea. So I recognize OpenSea. That's like a Web3 trading for NFTs, right? Transaction ID, block timestamp. I mean, this is really detailed information. So something like a pool that we're talking about, could I, like, if I wanted to go trade on a pool, could I hop in here and like check out how legit the pool is, or like is that like what this can do?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
So you have your decentralized exchange. So the two components are that people are adding and subtracting liquidity and people are doing swaps. So adding and subtracting liquidity means I'm locking up my money or I'm unlocking it and taking it back out of the pool. And then swapping, which is people trading one token for the other. So yeah, this is every DEX swap on Ethereum in certain certain decentralized
DEX,
exchanges.
for anybody listening, is decentralized exchange, is this
Yeah.
pool sort of construct that we're talking about. And so we're looking at the DEX swaps table under the Ethereum schema right here. And there's information like if it's coming in, if it's coming out, the platform. So Uniswap, SushiSwap. Oh yeah, I see direction right there, in and out. Right. Okay. Very cool. I mean, this is very highly valuable information. I mean, for me, if I was going to get into yield farming, I would want to know what happened. What was the last 6 months of the yield? Like what happened?
Yeah.
I don't want something that is advertising 100% because there's plenty out there, and then next month it's at 1. So this is really good.
You could do this a simple. Let's just say I want to know how many swaps there have been in the last 30 days for a specific pool. So let's say I'm into this Armor Weth pool. I'm going to copy the pool address.
Weth is just like Ethereum, right?
Oh yeah, good one. Good question.
You don't have to change to it, but it just
it is the same. Okay. Think of it as analogous.
Gotcha. Okay. So we're doing select where. All right. Yeah, this looks like SQL.
So I want to pull only data for this one pool address, and I just copied it from right here.
Okay. So we're pulling from the Armor Weth pool.
Yeah. Let's say I want to know how many transactions there have been in 30 days. That's the wrong language. Count distinct, right?
Count distinct. Hey. So we're looking at the query screen here on Flipside Crypto. So we're writing up a query to inspect a liquidity pool.
Yeah. So let's just see how many swaps have happened in the last 30 days for this specific pool by counting up the number of transactions.
Okay. So select count distinct transaction ID where pool address is equal to the pool. Okay. And block timestamp is okay. So we're going to limit it by after a certain date.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're running. What? Oh, do you know what I did? I didn't say what table to pull from.
Oh, select count distinct from. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. And the one note is that you need to specify the schema and then the table, or it won't know what schema to look in. You know, I've done so many queries while people are watching, and I've never gotten it right on the first try. Okay, so this pool in 30 days has only had 400 transactions, which is actually kind of low. So this is a pretty small pool.
Interesting.
So you would want to know, so if you're investing in a pool, it's a balance that you have to strike between one that has a ton of transactions, aka a ton of trading fees, versus how many other people are invested in the pool. So that's the kind of thing you could investigate here, and to see not only how many are in it today, but how many have been in it over time, and if all of the pieces line up to make it a good investment.
Right.
And so you were asking how to get into crypto, and it's not that easy. I think there's a pretty steep learning curve. And for anything with a steep learning curve, I think the number one thing that you need is to actually like it. Like, I think it would be really hard to force yourself to care about crypto. Like, I used to work at a bank and I had to care about what consumer deposit rates were. And it wasn't that hard. It's a pretty simple, like, okay, 1% on savings. Next,
Right.
it's not that complicated. This stuff is complicated. So you have to have a lot of intellectual curiosity and some passion for what it is you're getting into. Um, and you have to do a ton of reading and a ton of investigating. In order to learn how to query this data, I would say try some of our bounties because they really walk you through how to
What's a
do.
bounty?
Oh, I thought I mentioned that already. Yeah. Our bounties is kind of our whole thing these days. No, I want the
Oh, this
regular
is what we
site.
were talking about at the
Oh,
beginning, kind of the
here we are.
final form of Flipside where we're empowering users.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
If you check out our main website, flipsidecrypto.xyz, you can sign up to do bounties, which means that you use our query engine that I just showed you to answer questions about different crypto protocols, and you get paid.
You get paid real
You get
money.
paid money. Yeah. Real well, if you think that crypto tokens are real money,
I
then
mean,
yes, it's real money,
have them,
which
so
I do.
I surely hope they are real money. I'd be
Yeah,
very sad
me
to
too.
wake up the next morning and learn my money was not real. Uh,
Sometimes it doesn't feel real and we call it fake internet money.
I mean, how real is the US dollar really? You know, that's another question for everybody to think about.
Hmm. That's another
Yeah.
podcast.
But yeah, let's take a look at some of these bounties. So, me as a user, I can
Yeah.
come in and get access to this crazy data for free
Hmm.
for my own investing
Hmm.
purposes if I'm curious. But I can also like answer these questions that you guys are posting, right? And who's asking the questions?
Yeah.
Are you guys just doing crazy market research and you're trying to get people to answer questions, or like where are these questions coming from?
Yeah. So it's a combination of things we come up with on our own, but also we have a lot of direction from the protocols that the questions are about, like things that they want to
Okay.
know. For example, there's a protocol on Terra called Anchor, and they have this insane product where you can earn 20% interest on a stable coin, which means it's a coin whose value is pegged to the US dollar. So that's 20% interest on US dollar. That's 20% interest without underlying
This sounds
volatility
incorrect.
in the
Wow.
token, right?
What?
So it's huge. But, you
Insane.
know, so everybody's using it. Tons and tons of people are using it to the extent that it's getting harder and harder to maintain that 20%. So they're investigating what's going to happen if we reduce that 20%. Is everyone going to leave our project? At what level? Can we go to 18, 16, 14, whatever it is? And they used uh, our bounty program to help answer that question by getting a bunch of people in the community to come up with data driven analysis of the history and then to make projections and come up with ideas going forward.
Awesome. Okay, so it's like you have the opportunity to like really help a protocol do real
Mm-hmm.
stuff. That's wild. So I'm looking at your screen right here at the Flipside Crypto.xyz site. So we have beginner. I see beginner and then some cards underneath that. So I'm guessing these are like beginner question bounty things that we
Exactly.
can do. So what levels are there? Is it like beginner, medium, expert?
Yeah, these are called education bounties, and these bounties are specifically created to actually pay you to learn crypto.
Wow. Okay, so if you want to
So,
educate yourself and get into it, you can get paid to do it right away with these beginner ones. Okay,
yeah,
wild. So what's an example
exactly.
of one of
Yeah. And
these?
then,
Um, educational bounties, NFTs. Uh,
yeah. So you click here and you can see the
So we
actual
clicked on a card. It has a link.
text.
So we're following the link, and then
Yeah, this is on Notion. We used to put all of our questions on Notion, but we've grown up a little bit since then. But we're still migrating
gotcha.
away from putting everything on Notion. I don't know why it's loading. It's very embarrassing.
But there's just some questions that we can kind of answer. Maybe we
Yeah.
could take a look at what an answered question looks like.
Yes, I
You
have
have one
one.
up? Okay, awesome. So is
Yeah.
it beginner,
This one.
medium, or difficult one?
This is. I think this is either beginner or
Okay.
medium. So the thing that makes it beginner is that it's a pretty straightforward question, but it is a little bit medium because it's actually crossing 3 different blockchains. So Magic Eden, OpenSea, and Random Earth are 3 different NFT marketplaces on 3 different chains, which are in order of the title: Solana, Ethereum, and Terra. And so the question is, compare these 3 marketplaces. So this is pretty powerful because there's not too many places that I know of out on the internets where you can query data from multiple blockchains all in one query. So this dashboard just walks you through.
And what are they comparing? I think I was just seeing at the top. So we're comparing.
Yes. Here we have the daily volume in US dollars on each of these platforms. But do notice that it is in log scale. So OpenSea volume is like an order of magnitude higher than Magic Eden. And Magic Eden is like 2 orders of magnitude, which it means 10x, 2 10x's over Random Earth.
And this graph, so somebody wrote this page, right? Like somebody did a bounty. So like, is there a platform for me to make this interactive graph? How do I do that?
This is the dashboard tool from the site I was showing you earlier.
Dashboard tool as well. Okay.
Yeah, so you could make a chart out of this single number, because we actually do have a chart that is just a single number. And then once you make the chart using this new chart button, you can add it to a dashboard by creating a new dashboard, and it would look similar to this, just with nothing in it except what you put in.
So you can kind of like use SQL, aggregate data, and then there's like a button to spit that stuff out into various charts so you can make these reports.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay.
And I want to throw in 2 more things about how good this query editor is, if I do say so myself. Another thing you can do is, once you have the data, you can create an API. So you just click and generate an API. Of course, it's just one number because that's all our query output. But you can use this API anywhere where you can read an API. So you can take it to another place to do analysis on the data. And that's, again, still free. You can also have this update regularly. So I could have this updating daily. And so then I could have an API somewhere else read in the number of transactions in the last 30 days for this pool, and it will update daily. And I mean, I would encourage you to come back to our site, but you like never have to come back to the site to do another query, and you can get new data every 3. Yeah, the API is running, and you can also download the data as a CSV.
So it's just like every way that it can be accessible, I can grab it. CSV, API, make a chart, get paid for it.
And it's free, and we're committed to keeping it that way.
Do you know anybody that's like done all this stuff and broken into the field this way?
Oh, yeah, like so many. So we have a super active Discord. I would definitely encourage anyone who's interested in becoming a part of the Flipside community to head over to Discord. And you can always get your questions answered there about any of our data, actually kind of any crypto thing. I think the only thing that people don't talk about as much is like trading, like price ideas or getting investment advice. That's not the place for it. But any of this on-chain data you can talk about all day in Discord. And I know quite a few people who have used Flipside Crypto to get a job in crypto, because when you do these bounties, first of all, you're earning a little income, which is amazing. Second, you're learning. And sometimes it's hard to force yourself to learn something if you don't have to. So once you have the motivation of answering a bounty question, you're going to stick with it a little bit longer than if you're just trying to like follow a tutorial or answer a random question that you came up with. And then the other thing is that you have proof of the work that you've done. You have all of these dashboards that you've made that you can show off to, like, on Twitter, or you can put them in like a portfolio to share with a potential employer. Yeah, so a lot of people have gotten crypto related jobs from doing bounties.
That's wild. Good for people to know. So we are running up on time here, but I'd love to just wrap things up with asking you if there's anyone or anything in particular you would like to plug. We're certainly going to include some links underneath. So just to reiterate some that we've mentioned, it's the app.flipsidecrypto.com and the flipsidecrypto.xyz site that we were going over. Any
Yep.
others?
Mm.
The Discord.
I do want to say one Discord. Yeah, join our Discord. There's one more piece that I think is super cool, which is that all of the bounties that have been done in the past, wrong site, you can search them in the dashboards. So as you're coming up learning how to do things, you can actually find a dashboard someone else did by searching, and then find their query.
Oh, wow.
And then like replicate it for yourself. Or if you're like, I don't know how to find total value locked, you could search for TVL and see all the people that already did it and copy
I love
their
that
code.
because I'm a big coder by example. I love going to example docs, grabbing code that somebody else wrote, and then adapting it to mine. So this is cool. I can go look at a graph, download the SQL, and then change.
Yeah.
Very good to know. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yes. So if I had to like push one aspect of Flipside, it's the community that we have. All of the people that share information, encourage each other along, answer questions. Like, I think that's probably our biggest strength. I mean, I guess it's the data, but I just love our community and how people are getting educated, they're learning, they're making friends. I feel a little cheesy, but I think that's the best part.
Hey, feeling cheesy is a good feeling, so why not feel it, All right, Angela, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure having you and talking about, data. I love talking about data on this podcast. I always get excited when we have a guest to talk about the cool things that power our L1 and L2 chains.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. And we'll see you around.